Chapter 25. Vronsky and Anna spent the whole summer and part of the winter in the country, living in just the same condition and still taking no steps to obtain a divorce. It was an understood thing between them that they should not go away anywhere, but both felt the longer they lived alone, especially in the autumn, without guests in the house, that they could not stand this existence and that they would have to alter it. Their life was apparently such that nothing better could be desired. They had the fullest abundance of everything, they had a child, and both had occupation. Anna devoted just as much care to her appearance when they had no visitors, and she did a great deal of reading, both of novels and of what serious literature was in fashion. She ordered all the books that were praised in the foreign papers and reviews she received, and read them with that concentrated attention which is only given to what is read in seclusion. Moreover, every subject that was of interest to Vronsky she studied in books and special journals, so that he often went straight to her with questions relating to agriculture or architecture, sometimes even with questions relating to horse breeding or sport. He was amazed at her knowledge, her memory, and at first was disposed to doubt it, to ask for confirmation of facts, and she would find what he asked for in some book and show it to him. The building of the hospital, too, interested her. She did not merely assist, but planned and suggested a great deal herself. But her chief thought was still of herself. How far she was dear to Vronsky, how far she could make up to him for all he had given up. Vronsky appreciated this desire not only to please, but to serve him, which had become the sole aim of her existence. But at the same time he wearied of the loving snares in which she tried to hold him fast. As time went on, and he saw himself more and more often held fast in these snares, he had an ever-growing desire, not so much to escape from them, as to try whether they hindered his freedom. Had it not been for this growing desire to be free, not to have scenes every time he wanted to go to the town for a meeting or a race, Vronsky would have been perfectly satisfied with his life. The role he had taken up, the role of a wealthy landowner, one of that class which ought to be the very heart of Russian aristocracy, was entirely to his taste, and now, after spending 6 months in that character, he derived even greater satisfaction from it. And his management of his estate, which occupied and absorbed him more and more, was most successful. In spite of the immense sums cost him by the hospital, by machinery, by cows ordered from Switzerland, and many other things, he was convinced that he was not wasting, but increasing his substance. In all matters affecting income, the sales of timber, wheat, and wool, the letting of lands, Vronsky was as hard as a rock, and knew well how to keep up prices. In all operations on a large scale on this and his other estates, he kept to the simplest methods involving no risk, and in trifling details he was careful and exacting to an extreme degree. In spite of all the cunning and ingenuity of the German steward, who would try to tempt him into purchases by making his original estimate always far larger than really required, and then representing to Vronsky that he might get the thing cheaper and so make a profit, Vronsky did not give in. He listened to his steward, cross-examined him, and only agreed to his suggestions when the implement to be ordered or constructed was the very newest, not yet known in Russia, and likely to excite wonder. Apart from such exceptions, he resolved upon an increased outlay only when there was a surplus, and in making such an outlay he went into the minutest details and insisted on getting the very best for his money, so that by the method on which he managed his affairs, it was clear that he was not wasting, but increasing his substance. In October, there were the provincial elections in the Kashinsky province, where were the estates of Vronsky, Svasky, Konyshev, Oblonsky, and a small part of Levin's land. These elections were attracting public attention from several circumstances connected with them, and also from the people taking part in them. There had been a great deal of talk about them, and great preparations were being made for them. Persons who never attended the elections were coming from Moscow, from Petersburg, and from abroad to attend these. Vronsky had long before promised Svasky to go to them. Before the elections, Svasky, who often visited, drove over to fetch Vronsky. On the day before, there had almost been a quarrel between Vronsky and Anna over this proposed expedition. It was the very dullest autumn weather, which is so dreary in the country, and so, preparing himself for a struggle, Vronsky, with a hard and cold expression, informed Anna of his departure as he had never spoken to her before. But, to his surprise, Anna accepted the information with great composure, and merely asked when he would be back. He looked intently at her, at a loss to explain this composure. She smiled at his look. He knew that way she had of withdrawing into herself, and knew that it only happened when she had determined upon something without letting him know her plans. He was afraid of this, but he was so anxious to avoid a scene that he kept up appearances, and half sincerely believed in what he longed to believe, that she was being reasonable. "I hope you won't be dull." "I hope not," said Anna. "I got a box of books yesterday from Gautier's. No, I shan't be dull." She's trying to take that tone, and so much the better, he thought, or else it would be the same thing over and over again. And he set off for elections without appealing to her for a candid explanation. It was the first time since the beginning of the intimacy that he parted from her without a full explanation. From one point of view, this troubled him, but on the other side he felt it was better so. At first there will be, as this time, something undefined kept back, and then she will get used to it. In any case, I can give up anything for her, but not my independence, he thought.